All right, guys, let's look at your morning warm-up and Mod 1, Topic 2, Lesson 1 review sheets. Number 1, it says, rewrite each sum using distributive property. So last time we got to this part, we're going to go backwards. We're working backwards now. What do I need to find to rewrite this? Lucas. I have to find my greatest common factor. We got to find the greatest common factor out of 56 and 42. So 56 and 42. What number am I going to start with? 2. I'm going to start with my lowest number. Can 2 go into 56 and 42? Yes, 56 or 2 goes into 56 how many times? How many times does 2 go into 42?
21.
Perfect. All right, can we make 28 and 21 smaller? All right, what number could go both into 28 and 21? 7. 7 goes into 28 how many times? And 7 goes into 21 how many times? 3. All right, so what is my greatest common factor? My greatest common factor is 14. Actually, I'm going to write it down here. So our GCF equals 14 because we're timesing 7 by 2. So we know that 14 is our greatest common factor. So inside our parentheses, it's going to just be 4 plus 3. That's it. So now what you should do is you should check your work. If you are unsure if this is correct, go back and check it. So we got 14 being multiplied into 4 plus 3. 14 times 4 is what? It's 56, yes. And 14 times 3 is what?
42.
42. Do we have the same answer here as up here in our original problem?
Yes.
Then it checks out. Then 14, parentheses 4 plus 3, and parentheses is our answer. Okay? Number 2, write the prime factorization for 81. Please make sure you are marking your text. Get into the habit of marking your text, please. All right, 81. What number am I going to start with to find my prime factorization? Yes. 3. 3 goes into 81 how many times? How many times, guys? There we go. All right, can we break down 27? Yep, what are we going to, what number? Oh, 3. 3 goes into 27 how many times? And then can we make 9 smaller? All right, what goes into 9?
3.
And can I break 3 down any smaller? No, it's going to stay as is. So my prime factorization is what? Yeah. It's 3 multiplied by 3, multiplied by 3, multiplied by 3. Or we will write it how, Storm? 3 to the 4th power. Please get into the habit of doing 3 to the 4th power. Okay? All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3 and 4 were the things we worked on last class. We talked about area. This one's having us calculate the area. Calculate the area. What is this shape? It is a parallelogram. So what is my area formula for a parallelogram? Vivian? Our area equals base multiplied by the height. If you are not writing down your formula first, you need to write it down. Before we even start doing any calculations, write down your formula. All right, I've got my base. I know that I'm going to need a base and a height. There would be normally a little magic square right here. Magic square. So which one? I got 5 and I've got 12. Which one is my base? Yes. 12 is going to be my base. So 12 feet is my base. I need to label that and put a B next to the number that is going to be my base. So if 12 is my base, 5 is my height. So we're going to put an H by our 5 feet. So now we're going to write a formula. Area equals base times height. And now we're going to plug in our numbers. So base is 12 feet, and it's going to be multiplied by our height of 5 feet. 12 times 5 is? So our area is 60 what? Feet squared. You need to have your units of measurement. Question? Well, it's interchangeable, yes.
That's all I think about parallelograms.
Perfect. All right, number 4, we're going to calculate the area. What shape is this?
Triangle.
It's a triangle. So what is our formula for a triangle? Area equals 1/2 the base times the height. It's the first thing you need to write down. What formula you are going to use needs to be written down first. All right, we got 13 and we've got 8. Which one's my base? 13. You want to say 13? 13 is my base. We agree? All right, so 8 is going to be my height. All right, so area equals 1/2 base times height. All right, now let's plug in our numbers. We got 1/2. We're going to multiply it by our base, which is 13, and our height, which is 8. Last class we talked about we've gotten to this step, we're just going left to right. Everything's being multiplied. So find your even number first. If you have an even number, multiply it by your half. Because 1/2 multiplied by 8 is what? In other words, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So this becomes 13 multiplied by 4. 13 multiplied by 4 is?
52.
52. And I don't have a unit of measurement, so we're going to say units squared. Because a unit of measurement was not given.
The 13 6 and 1/2.
That's fine. If you wanted to divide the 13 by half or multiply it by a half, that's totally fine too. I would just look for the even number. It's going to be a little bit easier dividing by 2. Okay? All right, flip your page.
The teacher told us last year, like, whenever there's a right angle, that would include part of the problem. Like the box where you would box.
We're not working with angles right now. You're not finding angles. So that right angle does tell us it's 90 degrees, but we're not working with the angles per se right now, okay? We're just finding area. Okay? All right, on the back, vocab, these are the vocab words, some of the vocab words you guys learned yesterday. A parallelogram. Oh, it says determine if each statement is true or false. A parallelogram is a four-sided figure with one pair of parallel sides. Show of hands who picked true. Show of hands who picked false. It is false. What is wrong with this statement? Ethan. Yes, it is 2 pairs. 2 pairs of parallel sides. Number 2, the formula for the area of a trapezoid is area equals 1/2 height multiplied by the sum of base 1 plus base 2. Is this true or false? Show of hands who picked true. Who picked false? It is true. It is true. Listen. It does not matter where your height goes in the equation. The height could go right next to, guys, listen. The height could go right next to the 1/2, or it could go on the other side to be there. It does not matter. It's interchangeable. Okay? So it is true. 3, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with two bases that are parallel to each other. Show of hands who picked true. Who picked false? It is true. 4, a variable is a letter used to represent a number. Show of hands who picked true. Show of hands who picked false. It is true. And then we talked about formulas. What is the area of a parallelogram? Yes. Area equals base multiplied by height. Number 2, what is the area of a triangle? Yes. On half base times height. And what is the area of a trapezoid? Vivian.
Area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height.
Yes. If you did not get these correct or stumbled on some of the vocab, you need to be going back and studying your vocab sheet and looking at your formula sheet. We are going to be using these a lot. All right, let's look at the homework. So page 75. Let's look at our practice problems number 1. Please make sure if you did not mark your text, you are marking your text as we go through this. All right, number 1 says, identify a base and corresponding height for the given parallelogram. Then determine the area. So it's telling us it's a parallelogram, so the very first thing you need to do is what? What's the first thing I need to write down? We need to write down our formula. What is our formula? Base times height. That's the very first thing that needs to be written down. Is our base times height. Then you're going to look at your image, your shape, and then determine which one is which, okay? For this, it didn't even give us our numbers. We have to figure out our numbers. So you could have done this one or two ways. Some cut a part of the triangle off and then moved it to the bottom to form a rectangle. That is fine. Others found if they went straight across, they could find the base that way. So our base was what? How many units was our base? Oh, Leona. 8 units. So our base is 8. So our base, we'll just say right here, is 8. Our height is vertical. How many units is our height? Vivian? 4. Okay? So now I know my 8 is my base, my 4 is my height. I'm going to mark which numbers go with which variable. So now I'm just rewriting my equation. Area equals my base, so my 8, multiplied by my height, which is 4. 8 times 4 is 32. Does this have a unit of measurement on it? So we are going to say it's units squared. Please make sure you have all components down on your paper. Number 2, calculate the area of a parallelogram. All right, our area of a parallelogram is area equals base times height. That's the first thing that needs to go down on your paper, is identifying what formula you are going to use. This one gave us numbers. Which one's going to be our base? Which one's going to be our height? Yes? My base is going to be 14. So my height is going to be 32. Also, you see a magic square in there. Remember Mr. Moore talked about magic squares last class? Yes. The magic square is telling us our height are to which numbers we need to use for our formula. The vertical line down that's touching our magic square is going to be our height, and it's connecting to our base. We got our base and our height. Now let's just plug them in. We're going to put 14 where B is. We're going to put 32 where our height is. 14 times 32 is 448. What? Start. Yards squared. Okay. Number 3, identify a base and corresponding height for the given triangle. Then determine the area. So we're doing triangle. What's our area formula for a triangle? Yes. 1/2 base times height. First thing we're going to write down. The base was a little bit easier to find. The height might have stumped some of you, so we'll go over it. The base, how many units did you find for the base? How many units? Lucas? No, just the base. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our base is 6. Okay? Our height is going from the very top, and you're going to draw a line down to where the base would be. Okay? So then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our height is 7. We do not count, if you are going to draw your line to make your magic square, we're not counting these squares. They do not exist part of the base. Okay? So don't add those in. So we have area equals our 6 equals our base, our 7 equals our height. So we have 1/2 multiplied by our base of 6 and our height of 7. Do I have an even number in there?
Yes.
I do have an even number, and I'm dealing with a half. So what should I do when I have an even number? Yes. Yeah, let's use that even number and divide by 2, because that's really what timesing by a half is, right? So half of 6 is 3. So it's 3 multiplied by 7. What's 3 multiplied by 7? 21. 21 what? It's going to be units squared. All right, number 4 says calculate the area of a triangle. What's my formula? It's time. Area equals 1/2 base height. All right, I've got a magic square. And I've got 2 numbers. So which one's going to be my base? I've got 20 and 11. Which one's going to be my base? Yes. As my base? 20? You want to do 20? Okay. So 20 is going to be my base. My height is going to be 11. Okay? So now let's rewrite our equation with our numbers. So it's 20 multiplied by 11. I've got another even number. So what am I going to do with that even number? I'm going to divide it by 2. What's half of 20? 10. So area equals 10 times 11. What's 10 times 11? Yeah. 110 millimeters squared. Does everybody have this down before we turn the page? All right, flip your page. All right, guys, we've got 2 new shapes on our page. And we are told that we have to find the area of each picture. So we have to find the area of A, and we have to find the area of B. What would we name these shapes? Storm, why is it a trapezoid? It does have 2 bases. What about those bases? They are parallel. What else? One is longer than the other. So we have different sizes, yes? We have different sizes. It's going to tell us it's a trapezoid. What is our area for a trapezoid? What's our formula? Ethan. Times height. Perfect. That's the first thing that should have been down on your page. Now let's look at A. We have 5 inches, 7 inches, 4 inches. What are my 2 bases? Vivian. 7 and 4. Do we agree? Why would it not be 7 and 5? Vivian? They have to be parallel to each other, so opposite sides, okay? So we got 7, we got, oh, look at me. So,
Can I ask a trivia question for a Jolly Rancher?
absolutely.
Okay, so 4 and 7 are the bases. In trapezoids, we have a special name for those other 2 sides. What is the mathematical name for the 5 and the one that's not labeled? No, they're not parallel.
Oh, height.
No, that's not the height. Quiet.
I'm gonna say height.
Vivian?
Leg.
Legs!
Yay!
The other sides in the parallel are called legs.
All right, so what would my 5 inches be?
That's quiet.
All right, come back. If I've labeled my bases, I've got base 1 being 7 inches, base 2 being 4 inches. My 5 inches is what? Yes. Yeah. It's our height. So our 5 inches is going to be our height. That kind of looks like an N. All right, so now we just need to plug it into the formula. We have area equals 1/2 base 1, which is 7, plus base 2, which is 4, and then we are going to multiply it by our height, which is 5 inches. But our order of operations says we need to do what's inside the parentheses first. So 7 plus 4 is 11. Now you can do this 1 or 2 ways. You can divide 11 or 5 in half first, or you can multiply your 11 by 5 first. It's really your preference on how you want to do it. If you are okay with multiplying with decimals, then find half of 11 or half of 5 first. If you're not, then just multiply the 2 first. 11 times 5 is 55. And we're going to multiply it by half, so we're dividing 55 by 2. So our answer is, Storm, area equals 27.5 inches squared. All right, let's look at B. We're using the same formula. The image is kind of shifted. So now which one are my 2 bases? What numbers are representing my 2 bases?
3, 5.
Which 3?
The one on top.
The one on top. So we've got base 1, base 2. So it leaves our other 3 inches as our what? As our height. So again, you should have area equals 1/2. Our formula is up there. Base 1 is 3 inches plus 5 inches multiplied by 3 inches. We're going to do what's inside our parentheses first. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Multiply by 3, and we still have our half. I've got an even number, so I would divide that even number by 2. 8 divided by 2 is
4.
4. And we are going to multiply by 3, so 4 times 3 is
12.
12. So our area equals 12 inches squared. Okay. All right, let's move down to 6. With the key to 6 is it's saying without performing any calculations, determine which triangle has a greater area. So we have 2 triangles here. We have triangle ABC, and we have triangle ADC. So triangle ABC is right there. And triangle ADC is in green. So without performing any calculations, which one is bigger? Storm, what'd you say? Hey guys, I can't hear. Yes, Storm, go ahead. Is greater, why? Yeah, that's a great answer. She said that triangle ABC, so my blue triangle, is greater, has a greater area because it is higher. Let's do a different color. Is higher than triangle ADC. And I would say that's a perfect answer without doing any calculations. That is a great answer. Wyatt?
I was a bit confused on this one because it looks like there's 3 triangles with the way the lines are.
Yes. Some might have seen a triangle right here,
Yeah, that was me.
but it's not labeled. So there's only 2 triangles because 2 triangles are labeled. If there was a 3rd triangle, they would have labeled that 3rd triangle. Okay? So I would say triangle ABC is greater or has a greater area than triangle ADC because of the height. Okay? All right. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong. There we go. How many of you did the stretch? Okay. How many of you watched the video that was posted? Okay. All right. Let's go through these really quickly. Number 1 says, what is the area of the parallelogram that has a base of 4 3/4 feet and a height of 1 1/3 feet? It's telling us what our figure is. It's a parallelogram. So our area formula for a parallelogram is Wyatt?
Base and height.
Base multiplied by height. Guys, sit down, please. Sit down. So it's telling us our base is 4 3/4, and we're multiplying it by 1 1/3. This is going back to last topic where we multiplied fractions. What's the first thing I have to do? We need to turn it improper. So we're going to use what? Ethan? Slam dunk. 4 times 4 is? Plus 3?
19.
So it's 19 over 4 being multiplied by what's 3 times 1?
3.
Plus 1? 4 over 3. Can I reduce anything? I can. These two 4s become 1. 4 goes into 4 how many times? Once. So 19 multiplied by 1 is? And 1 multiplied by 3 is? How many times does 3 go into 19 evenly? Lucas? 6 times with what remainder? 1/3. So 6 1/3 would be your answer. Yes?
6 1/3 feet squared.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Make sure you have your unit. Yep, I have feet squared. Number 2, calculate the area of a triangle. What is our area formula for a triangle? Yes. 1/2 base times height. Now here's the trick. We only need to use 2 of these numbers, but there's 4 numbers being shown. So which one is my base and which one is my height? Mr. Morriside. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The base is 11, height is 8.667.
Yes, how did you know that? The magic square tells us what? The base and the height. These other numbers are here, but they're here to do what? To trick you. They're just to trick you. So area equals 1/2 our base, which is 11, multiplied by our height, which is 8.66. I would divide their 8.66 in half. What would you get if we divided 8.66 in half? Lucas? 3. And then we are going to multiply it by 11. So 4, 3, 3 multiplied by 11 is 4, 3, 3, which is 4, 3, 3, which is 3, 6, 7, 4. How many decimal places? How many decimal places did I start with? 2. So I need to go in how many decimal places? 2. 1, 2. So my answer, guys, bring it back. My answer is the area equals 47.63 meters squared. How many of you got that right? Good job.
Raise your hand if you got it right.
Good job, good job. I've got 3.
Including the units. Okay. Okay, on your formula sheets, guys, we're going to add in the algorithm for finding area. So go ahead and write this. Should be right below the parallelogram picture before the triangle. There should be an open space on your formula sheet. On your formula sheet. That's why we had you pull your formula sheet out, guys. I want you to be able to look at this during the test. Okay? Step 1, the first thing and most important thing is you have to identify the figure. Every figure has a different formula. So if you don't identify the figure, you are going to be lost. Step 2 is the one that we stressed last time. And I will admit, I was very sadly disappointed because almost none of you actually did this. And that is, write the generic formula. In other words, the base formula we've given you. That's what's on the formula sheet. You should write it in there with the variables in place. Because even last time I told you the most commonly missed is going to be the triangles, because you're going to forget to do the 1/2. And you proved it to me today. Those of you that miss problems, most of them
were the triangles, and most of them were because you didn't do the 1/2. Okay, step 3, and this is a critical one. Identify the parts on the picture. And by parts, I'm talking base, height, length, width. Whatever it is your formula needs, you need to identify it. Write it right on the picture. And I'm going to add this, thanks to Miss Bryant in our first period, magic box, or magic square, shows them. So look for the magic square. The magic square is going to have your base, your height, your length, your width. If they don't have it, then you're going to have some issues. You're going to have to use your knowledge of what the figure is. But if it's got the magic box, bang it. You already know where your numbers are. Okay? Step 4, if you've done step 2 and 3, step 4 is very easy. Put the numbers in the formula. And solve. So you've written the generic formula. You've identified all of the parts on your picture. Now literally all you got to do, take the numbers from the picture, put them in the formula where they go. And then you're going to do the math, solve it. Pay attention to order of operations, especially on your trapezoids, because you have to add them, add the bases before you do anything else. That's why the parentheses are there, to force you to do that. Okay? Your last step, and here's what's kind of the irony. You can do all of this right and still fail. You can do all of this right and still fail. How? Because step 5 is units matter. If you do not put the correct units, it will be half wrong. So it will always be units squared. So whatever the unit is, will be squared. So it'll always be whatever the unit is. So if they give you yards, that's your unit. If it gives you feet, that's your unit. Like on the picture they gave us where there were no units, then you'll use the generic units, but it will always be squared with a 2. Make sense? Which gets to another point we haven't seen yet, but you'll see this in future problems. If they don't give you the same units, you actually have to convert one of them to multiply them, because you have to have the same units to multiply. Question, Lucas? Okay. Question?
So, like, if it's like inches and something's yards, you have to convert that?
Yep, if it was inches on one side and yards on the other, I got to switch them. So either turn the inches into yards or the yards into inches. But yes, they have to be the same to multiply. That's why it's units squared. Okay, does the algorithm make sense?
Yes.
Because most of you didn't do all these steps on your homework last night. So we're going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. We have 3 problems here at the bottom of page 77. You can use your algorithm, use your formula sheet. We want you to solve all 3. We'll give you guys about 8 minutes. Go. Okay, well, during the break, I actually did have an interesting question, so I do want to address this. Someone asked me, why up here did I put the lowercase b, lowercase l? Why does that look like a cursive, and why don't I use a regular one or a capital L? Okay? What do you think?
If you use just a normal L, then it can look like a 1.
So I use a regular lowercase l, looks like a 1, right? So then the question was, well, why don't you use a uppercase 1? Because I can make a big L like that, right? Here's the problem. Mathematically, it actually makes a difference for most of these letters. For example, if I use a B, mathematically, that is base of a figure, right? If I use a capital B, is actually the area of the base of figures like pyramids. So being small versus capital actually has a different mathematical meaning. So it is actually really important that you use the correct variable, because mathematically we basically have assigned certain variables to mean certain things. So for example, that lowercase b is the base of a figure. The cursive L is the length of a figure. And the reason we use the cursive is so it doesn't look like a 1. Does that make sense? Okay, so great question. Thank you, Gabby. That was a really good question. Now let's look at them. So we're just going to go through the steps. Step 1, what is my first figure? Something other than these two.
A parallelogram.
Parallelogram. That tells me what I need for my formula. So I write my base formula. Area equals BH, or base times height. Okay? Next, step 2, step 3, I start identifying them in my figure. Guys, it always comes down to the magic box. So what is my base? Mate? Does everybody agree with that? Technically, would it matter if she was wrong? Not really, because I only have two things to identify, right? A base and a height. As long as I call each of them 1, I'm okay. But that is the base, because by definition, the base is the sides that are parallel, right? The height is my perpendicular distance between them, which is why we have our magic box. So we now know the other one is our height. Guys, this right here is why I said, if you want an A+, follow these first 2 steps, because the rest of them are actually really easy. Because now that I've identified everything, all I have to do is put these into my formula. So it's now area equals, my base I said was 22 meters. My height I said was 10.5 meters. I have a mixed number that I'm multiplying. What's my key? What do I need to do? Ava? Awesome. Sure.
So first multiply 10 by 2 and then plus 1.
Good. 20, good. 21 over 2. What do I do with the 22 to make it an improper fraction? Ethan? Put it over 1. 22 over 1. I'm multiplying. So because I'm multiplying, I can look for reductions. I have a 2 and a 22, right? So I can make that a 1 and an 11, which makes the math far easier. Because technically you can do that in your head, right? 10 times 21 is 210. I add one more. 210 plus 21 gives me 231. Don't forget your units. Guys, you have to have the units. You will lose half credit on tests and quizzes if you don't have the proper units. So you can do all that math. If you don't put the proper units, it's half off. Okay? Step number 2, what is my base shape? Identify it. KMS, what is number 2? What's that shape? Triangle. Then I write my base formula. Area equals 1/2 the base times the height. I find my magic square. So what's my base? Vivian? 11. What's my height? 7. I have my base and height identified. Now I put them in the formula. Area equals 1/2 times 11 centimeters times 7 centimeters. Now this is a personal preference. If I don't have an even number, to me it's easier to multiply the numbers and then take half of that, because it's easy to divide any number by 2. But if I divide by 2 first, now I'm either dealing with a mixed number or a decimal. I'd rather just deal with all whole numbers. So make sure you rewrite anything you haven't done. So I haven't done the 1/2 yet. So now it's 1/2 times 77. So half of 77, half of 7 is 3 with 1 left over. Half of 17 is 8. Gets me to 16 with 1 left over. Centimeters squared. See how easy this can be, guys? Okay. Number 3. What's my figure? Identify it. Who haven't I called on? Keegan, what is it? Good. So I start with my base formula. Area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. I now need to identify it. Here's my magic box. What is my bases? Vivian.
Base 1 is 65 yards. Base 2 is 35 height is 30 yards.
Okay, personally, I would go base 1, base 2, but does it really matter? No. So whatever your personal preference is. Then we just put those now in the formula. 1/2, 65 plus 35 times 30. Now, order of operations says I have to do my parentheses first. So that's 1/2 of 130. Personally, I love multiplying by tens and hundreds. That makes the math easy, right? So I'm not going to take half of that. I'm going to take half of the 30. Gives me a 15. When I do the math, 15 times 100 means I just add 2 zeros to the 15. Don't forget your units. Yards squared. 1,500 square yards. Questions? Okay, we're going to do something different for you guys. Everybody turn back to page 70. Go back to page 70. For the record, your homework is the next 3 Mathia spaces. So it's Unit 5 in Mathia. So that's why we changed our homework. It was actually supposed to be something different, but we didn't get as far as we wanted. This should have been easy, guys. First one, parallelogram. Area equals h. Here's my base. Here's my height. Area equals 9 times 6 gives me 54. They didn't give me a unit, so I just say basic unit squared. Second one, this is a triangle. Area equals 1/2 BH. My base is here, my height's here. Technically, it really doesn't matter on that one either way. 1/2 my base of 24 times my height of 8. In this case, I'm going to take actually half of 24 to get 12, because I know 12 times 8 is 96. Again, they didn't give it to me, unit squared. I don't know why y'all are putting stuff up. You should be watching this. Next one is a trapezoid. So my base formula, area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times my height. I have base 1 on top, base 2 on the bottom. Again, it doesn't matter as long as you recognize all your bases. So 1/2, I add 5 plus 11 times 9. I have to add first, guys, order of operations. I'm going to take half of 16 to get 8. 8 times 9 gives me 72 units squared. And our last one. This is a triangle, so we're back to 1/2 the base and the height. My base is 7, my height is 16. You know that because it's a dotted line, means it's a perpendicular distance between your base and your height. Just a real quick side note. What they're going to do on a test is they're going to tell you that's 6. Because that doesn't matter. That's an irrelevant number. I only care about what my base is. In this case, it's 1/2 times 7 times 16. So I'm going to do half of 16 gives me 8. 8 times 7 is 56. 3 sections of Mathia, 3 workspaces. Have a great night, guys.